Latent defects and patent defects. This video will be seeing about the difference between these two kind of defects in construction contracts. First, let's see about latent defects. As the name indicates that these defects are identified later. They're also known as hidden or concealed defects that could not be identified immediately after the completion of the construction. But these defects develop slowly and you identify after a few months or years after the completion of the construction. So, latent defects are those impressions or imperfections that could not have been reasonably detected through ordinary due diligence during the construction phase or during the final inspection of the construction phase. So, a few examples. Structural weakness. So, hidden structural weakness in the foundation can become evident over the years. We had an practical case where we were appeared as a consultants. It's a G+8 residential building. The building has been 2 or 3 years old, and the building keeps vibrating when heavy vehicles move across the building on the road. So we had a team, and we went there. We retrospectively identified whether the structural strength for the building was right. Then it went to litigation, and I think the case is running. So those are latent defects which cannot be identified immediately after construction. Then hidden plumbing issues, that whether you properly did plumbing or not, there might be leakages in the walls, and hidden waterproofing issues. If the waterproofing was not done properly, and during rain accumulations, over a period of time, the leakages can happen. You cannot identify it immediately. Next is the patent defect. Patent defect is opposite to the latent defect. This is a defect, but that is very reasonably visible immediately after the construction at the time of inspection. So they are noticeable, they can be identified, and if identified, there are many mechanisms in the contracts for the rectification and or replacement or completion before the construction phase. So what are the examples of patent defects? Leaking roof. So this is different. The leaking roof, which is evident during the final walkthrough, where that should be evidently visible for you, and misalignments in the doors, windows after the immediate installations, so that you can find that after the immediate installation of construction of the windows. So based on the detection and timing, latent defects are found long after the completion, even after years. Patent defects are usually identified immediately after the construction during the final inspection, based on the contractual obligations. So latent defects are usually covered under the extended warranties, under the fix of the post-completion. There are also other mechanisms like if it is, what is the design capacity for the, usually we give the design duration is for 25 years for large construction buildings. So the design warranty will be 25 years. So if any faults in the design, you cannot just limit it to the defect liability period. So patent defects must be corrected before final acceptance. That is, if it's not accepted, it will not be considered in the handover. So it falls on the immediate contractor responsibility, and the mechanism of recovery, or you have the retentions with you, and you will be having the final payments due. Liability and responsibility. So in terms of liability and responsibility, latent defects often liable long term, even if the defect wasn't visible earlier. So the contractor cannot say that the defect was not visible earlier, it's not our fault. No, it comes under the fit for purpose, and if it's not being um, properly rectified even after long years, then that is the liability of the contractor. Patent defects. Contractor is liable since the defects were clearly detectable, and there is a mechanism like replacement or repair, whatever the mechanism in the contract, it has to be followed immediately before the handover. Reporting and notification. Defect liability period or even after defect liability period, latent defects can be identified. Patent defects are usually immediately notified after the inspection, once done, well before the project handover. Rectification and remedies. Latent defect may require major remedies, like the one I said that the building is vibrating. So mostly the building has to be demolished and rebuilt. And patent defects, it should be usually simple defects that it can be fixed before the completion of the construction stage. So I think this might have given a clear idea about the latent defects and patent defects. What are the legal implications and disputes with respect to these defects? Longer liability periods, complex litigations on standards and warranties. Latent defects are always painful. Patent defects are like just short disputes. It usually closes between the parties before the coming out of the projects. So understanding these defect types, you have to draft clear contracts for the both kind of defects. You have to fairly allocate the responsibilities, reduce the disputes, and ensure safe and durable build structures. Thank you.